We're covering the top colors and archetypes for Avatar Draft and Sealed. Whether you're preparing for your first pre-release or draft, you're not going to want to miss this. Welcome back to all our regular viewers. It's great to be back after our, let's just call it a well-timed break during the Spider-Man set. And to all of our new viewers, what you have to look forward to on our pre-release episode is condensed strategy, where we do all the hard work of grading the entire set for you and condense that signal into the big picture takeaways to best prepare you for Avatar. And let's start by going over the archetypes. We're thankfully back to 10 archetypes. We have white-blue flyers, blue-black draw 2, black-red Fire Nation aggro, relying on firebending with attacking, red-green Earth Rumble ramp, relying on 4+ power creatures, green-white allies, white-black sacrifice, blue-red combat with a reliance on lessons, black-green +1/+1 counters, red-white go-wide aggro, and green-blue ramp with lessons. I will say the set looks similar to Duskborn, and that you want to look for mechanics that can overlap with your archetype's description for enhanced synergy. For example, blue-black draw 2 is very much about making clues to tap for waterbending and not just about draw 2. Earth Rumble ramp can generate more mana for firebending and exhaust effects. Green-white allies can airbend your opponent's blockers out of the way to effectively attack with your go-wide army. And black-green +1/+1 counters can sacrifice your earthbended lands for a bonus and get your land back. I think there will be plenty of room to color outside the lines in this set. As to what you'll have to paint with, splashing will be supported with dual lands at common in the land slot and 50% of packs. There's also a common all-color land and an uncommon all-color land, which I actually like slightly less. This level of color support is on par with most sets. It's less than Tarkir Dragonstorm, but more than Edge of Eternities. There are some heavier pipped mana costs, so I expect fixing to be pretty useful. So which colors look most attractive so we can paint our best picture early on? For those new to our methodology, we graded all commons and uncommons from F to A+, and assigned each grade a number, starting with 1 at D+, as the lowest graded card you're likely to put into a deck, up to 10 at A+. We only graded commons and uncommons, as those are the only cards you can reliably get, forming the foundation of your deck. When we did this, we found that green was by far the strongest color at a 3.21 average grade, black followed up behind at 2.98, white followed up in third at 2.88 but tied with blue also at 2.88, and red was in last at 2.79. On average, amongst the commons and uncommons, green was the only color that averaged above a C. But averages aren't the full picture. Let's take a look at the depth of each color, and to do that we also counted how many commons and uncommons were particularly attractive cards at a C+ or higher to get a feel for how deep the color is. When we did that, we found that green had 20 commons and uncommons at a C+ or higher, blue had 15, black was tied with that at 15, white had 14, and red had 12. Using both the average and the depth here, we can say that green is the strongest color, black, blue, and white are relatively close in the middle, and that red is lacking behind in last. A disclaimer is that it's very possible we're overgrading earthbending. Earthbending does take away a land on your turn if you plan to attack with it. Likewise, waterbending takes away an attacker or defender on your turn. It's for this reason that I think the set will play out on the slower side. At least compared to the sets of 2024 and years prior, I guess 2025 has been the year of slow sets. But green just looks to have such great rates and access to fixing, which we already talked about as being important. I think it's more than likely that Wizards, who design sets years in advance, heard the feedback from years prior that sets should be slower and green needs to be more powerful, and like Edge of Eternities, Tarkir Dragonstorm, and Aether Drift, made slow green decks some of the most powerful before they could course correct. Don't get me wrong, green doesn't look completely busted, and it's very possible in practice it won't be the best color. I just think it's worth bringing up this pattern when I continue to see green cards look a little pushed set after set. Next, let's look at archetype strength. You'll notice I have all the green decks at the top. White-green and red-green look good, but I'm actually surprised they graded out higher than blue-green. I have my suspicions that blue-green is better. White-black looks interesting as the only controlling white deck. Blue-black looks to be the most controlling deck, and I suspect that might be better than white-black. Blue-red, I really like its uncommons, but fear it might rely on them too much. White-red is the deck keeping the control decks honest, but I fear it'll just get outclassed by too many decks, or lose to Iroh's Demonstration, dealing 1 damage to all your creatures. Black-red is my sleeper aggro deck. I suspect this might be better than white-red, because it can clear the way of big threats. Blue-white just seems at odds with itself. It doesn't really want to pair Go Wide with Flyers. That's all I have for today. I'm going to try to find time for a bonus pre-release episode, deep diving into the top commons and uncommons, so be sure to like and subscribe to be notified when and if that drops. See you then.